potato day. You excited?
Yeah.
It's finally time to put our potatoes in the ground. We wish we'd already had them in the ground, but life gets in the way sometimes. So today's the day. We're going to try to plant, I don't know, how many rows down here are we going to plant? At least one row in the big garden. You think we might plant two? Depends on how far the taters go, I guess.
Yeah, we ain't got but a 50-pound sack.
So we'll have to see how far they'll go. And then we're going to go back up to the house and plant some in our grow bags like we've been doing the last few years. But I have some little potatoes that we actually grew last year that I've kind of kept. They're looking kind of pitiful, but I think we're just going to plant them up there and see what happens. So what's your first Matt's got to work on the garden before we can actually plant them.
I gotta take the box blade off the tractor and put the tiller on and get that tilled up, and then take that off and put the middle buster on.
And then we'll be ready to throw taters in.
Yep.
We're finally ready to work up the potatoes so that we can plant them. We like to grow Kennebec, so this is Kennebec potatoes. And when it comes to planting potatoes, it's just like anything else. Everybody's got their own method or their own way of doing it. A lot of people will do this step that we're doing right now like a couple of days before, or at least a day before, and let the part that Matt's cutting there skim over or develop a skin. We've never done that. Pap never did it. As far as I know, my mom and Papa never done it that way either. But it's okay if you do it that way. Everybody just has to find out what works well for them. So what Matt's doing is he's just cutting pieces. You want to make sure there's an eye on each piece. So some people even say, 2 eyes or 3 eyes or whatever, but we always just said as long as there's one eye on the potato. So you can see like this one's got, let me get closer up so maybe you can see. You can see how many different little eyes have started sprouting out. So you don't have to worry about cutting each one individually. You just want to make sure each piece that you have has at least a few on there. Now one thing that really shows you how I'm always saying seeds want to grow. Well, potatoes want to grow. Anything that grows wants to grow. Because as picky as people are, and we are too about this, like I'm telling you every little step to do, Granny buries her peelings that she peels from the grocery store potatoes, and lots of times they grow potatoes. And me and Matt's done that, not on purpose, but inadvertently, because I like to just throw out my peelings in the winter in one of the beds and let them compost that way. And often what happens is then later in the summer we notice there's a potato growing right there. Well, it must be a peeling that I threw out. And sometimes those potatoes have a lot of potatoes on them, don't they? We usually leave them if there's one here or there or whatever. And a lot of times they'll have big potatoes on them. So in other words, do all the research and then just try it and then see what works best for you is my best advice that I can tell you. And there's all kinds of tutorials and things you can find about planting potatoes, and I'm sure they're all really great and they work. But then what we're doing works too. So you just kind of have to find your own way. And for me and Matt, all of the stuff mostly that we've learned come from Pap, and he had been growing a garden for 60 or 70 years, making a garden since he was a little boy, helping his mother at home. You think we're gonna have enough to do 2 rows?
Probably.
Well, if we have any extra, we can plant Granny a little row, or Corey might want a little row in one of her beds.
Yep.
I guess I better get to cutting and quit talking. Matt's gonna get mad at me. You gonna fire me?
Might fire myself.
So you wouldn't have to do this no more?
Fire myself. I might get a little fishing time in.
Yeah. And if you happen to get a really small potato like that, you could just plant the whole thing. Or if you're really needing to stretch out your seed potatoes, you could cut it. But if you're not, you could just plant that whole thing. Like there's a little bitty one. When it comes to actually putting the potatoes in the ground, we like to do about 10 inches between them, and you can aim for the eyes like that. Put them, facing up. It's what most people say. I found, and Matt has, it really don't matter as much because sometimes there's little eyes that ain't really broke out yet, but they're there. Anyway, you can aim for facing them up, and we do about 10 inches apart, but some people suggest to do them further apart than that, though. Well, we got all those planted in the big garden, and now we've come back up to the house where we're going to plant in our grow bags. We're going to plant potatoes in them. It's so handy to have potatoes growing right outside the kitchen door, basically, so I can run out here and grab some out and cook them for supper. It is just so handy. So these potatoes in this basket, you can see they're pretty pitiful looking. That's some we grew last year in these grow bags. So I'm going to plant them, though, even though they look kind of pitiful. I only had a handful that was left over, and a lot of them were the smallest potatoes that we grew, and I was going to discard them, and then I thought, no, why should I discard them? I should just wait and plant them if they make it through the winter, and if they don't, I'll throw them out. So that's them. These are a few that I had where I bought some just organic potatoes, and they're just kind of sprouting out on me and turning soft. That one's rotted even. So I'm going to just got those two, and we'll plant them and see what happens. So you can see all the grow bags there in front of the greenhouse. We'll plant all of those in potatoes, I think, unless Matt wants to do something different. So the ones that I've saved through the winter will not be enough to plant those. So we do have some left over from the 50 pounds that we bought of the Kennebec, so we'll use that. Matt's gone right now, though, to get me some compost, so that we'll have to get the weeds out of the top and then add some compost before we start planting. So Matt's got the bags all filled up for me with another new layer of compost and chopped it all in good. So I'm going to start putting the potatoes, and I'm going to start with the ones that the kind of pitiful ones that we had. I'm just going to throw me a few down. I don't know. I won't cut these up because they're so small. I put, I guess, about 5 in each big bag. It's kind of neat to save your potatoes and do this. Lots of people do that. We just don't usually do it because we grow so few. That one's so tiny. I'm going to put that one in there too.
You're going to set your, you want more?
I think that's good. What you doing, boy? What are you doing?
That way he can be outside, but out of that cold wind.
See, that's a big wind, Mama. Your grandma told me about the big wind.
I saved the day again.
You did.
I don't want to do this twice.
Matt always saves the day. We're hiding out in the greenhouse from the ferocious wind.
I ain't never seen wind like that this long. Have you?
No, I haven't. And I can see why the places where there's fires, which is really so sad, those forest fires, in North Carolina even, I can see why they can't get them put out if the wind's blowing like it is here, and I'm sure it is. I can't imagine how fast it would fan it and push it and make it go, and that happens in other places too, of course. That's usually forest fires. That's if the wind comes, that's the drastic danger. I pray that they get it put out, and I hope the wind quits blowing.
Yeah, I think I may need therapy after it's over. It's driving me out of my mind.
It's driving me crazy too. It reminds me of those, I don't know the name of it, but like a movie about like a western about the prairie, and where the wind just howls and howls at them and blows their plants away and all that. Actually, I was watching a Gunsmoke last night, and it's the one where Chester falls in love with the lady that gets off the stage, you know, and they're going to get married just immediately, and he buys a place, or he's going to homestead a place, and the wind's like that there, and then he can't understand why nobody, remember that one, why nobody wants it, because he just thinks it's great, but the ground's real rocky and the wind blows, and
there's a sideways shack on it.
And there's no water, and then he eventually accidentally knocks the shack down, and then he digs underground, makes him a, what do you call those, like a dugout house. And she
floods.
she don't like it, and then he wakes up in the morning and it's water, which then that's good. He didn't mean to, but he hit water, you know. Anyway, that's what this wind reminds me of. I think of those. Of course, that's just a TV show, but think of those things like that. It sure has blowed, though. The preacher said at church Sunday that it was the windiest March he had ever remembered in his whole life. And I was thinking, yeah, but I think it was the windiest February and January and December. I think it's been blowing since about last October.
It has. Need to research that and see what's going on.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody could tell me.
All I know is the wind's blowing and it'll eventually quit. Hopefully it'll probably quit just about the time it turns good and hot and humid, and it won't blow again till fall.
Till you're sitting in a deer stand.
Right. It'll just be still and hot. But if it does, we'll get through that too.
I'm glad we got the potatoes in the ground. We've been wanting to do that. So we've accomplished that much. That's really great. It's
On the
really
bright
good.
side, we're earlier than last year.
We are earlier than last year, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I hope this year we get more rain than we did last year, and then even last spring the wind was blowing, and that's part of what just drying everything out, because of that wind, which of course is what, you know, then everything's so dry. If something catches on fire, then everything's so dry from the wind. So we had rain, I don't know, 2 or 3 days ago. It rained during the night, but then the wind blew for about 2 hours, and it's like it never rained at all. It just dried everything back out.
Yeah.
So, don't do me no good to complain about it, though, does it?
No.
I am glad the potatoes are in the ground, though.
Me too.
I guess that's kind of our last spring really push for the spring stuff. Because we got the cabbage, we planted some onions and some radishes and some lettuce, and planted some peas. The peas we planted are spotty. They're just coming up here and there.
We plant any carrots?
Yeah, we planted carrots. They've not come up yet, but I'm not worried about them because it takes them a while. So it's good to have the potatoes marked off the list.
It is.
I think potatoes is one of the very easiest things to grow if you're a new gardener, especially if you use these grow bags. It's so easy. And there's lots of different, what's it called, the Ruth Stout method, where they just lay them down in layers like you don't even have to dig. So there's all kinds of easy ways, but overall I think potatoes are one of the easiest, because once you plant them, you really just kind of forget about them. Now we don't ever fertilize the ones up here, but the ones in the big garden we'll probably fertilize once maybe. And some people may fertilize them more than that, but for me and Matt, Daddy always just did it about once, didn't he? And
He'd do it, just kind of side dress the side of them and then heal them. And heal it up on them, and whatever they done from there is up to them.
right. And so that's another thing, and it's totally fine. Everybody just has their own way. Some people believe in healing them like 2 or 3 times. Some people don't believe you should heal them at all. So that's just personal preference, what you should do. But once you, I mean, really, we won't even, me and Matt, especially like these up here, we won't even think about them until we're digging them to
The
eat.
tops lay down on them,
Yeah.
and then we'll go checking them out.
Yeah, we might grabble out some before that to have some fresh new potatoes. Are so good.
Yeah,
Boil them a little bit and then finish them in the oven. They're so good.
yes they are.
So good. And before you know it, as fast as time goes, we'll be doing that. So our next big push will be just the regular warm weather stuff. Our peppers that I up-potted are doing excellent inside. I need to bring them out here because they're already getting so big. They're hitting the top of the shelf. And then the tomatoes, though, out here, none of them have come up yet. I think it's just not been warm enough yet for them. But they will. They've still got time, but none of them have showed up yet. You put pepper in yours?
Yeah.
I made me and Matt some golden milk. I'm feeling kind of puny, so that'll probably pick me up. And Matt said, ain't you supposed to put pepper in it? Because I put some turmeric. And I said, yeah, but I forgot. So he just put some in his cup. You like it with the pepper?
Yeah. I like black pepper.
You do. You really love it, don't you?
Yeah.
Really do.
I have to really restrain myself when I'm cooking something that I know that everybody else is going to eat, because I'll absolutely make it black with pepper.
Well, it's because you're Papa's son.
Yeah.
Papa Tony goes heavy, heavy on the black pepper.
Especially when I'm cooking oysters,
Yeah.
oyster stew. I'll generally, I ain't done it in a long time because you'll eat it, but I'll really put it to it if it's only me. I like it that way.
We've been continuing to peck away at Matt's shed. We'll share a video with you in the coming days about what we've done. Maybe 2 videos, but at least 1. So Matt started putting the, what do you call those things? The band and the stuff.
Yeah, the little header beams around it, building them around the top of it and getting everything level and ready for the rafters. Got about half of that done. It'll take, at the rate that I go, apparently it's going to take another day to get the other half up, and then he'll be ready to put the ridge pole up and put rafters on, but I'll have to get more material here for that. I'll have to figure it and get it here before we can start that little phase of it.
The day that Matt was working on it, of course, Austin was at work, but I kept telling him he ought to call Paul and get Paul to come help him, but he just hated to bother him. Even though Paul said over and over and over he'd help. But anyway, Matt used the tractor to push that big beam up there. I was of no help. It's so heavy. Matt built it out of, what did you build it out of?
2x10s.
So, and it's really long. I couldn't even lift one end of it, but the tractor come in handy for that too. Matt was able to push it all the way up to where it needed to go, almost, and then put it in place from there.
Got one end in place with the tractor, the lowest end, and then the high end. I got up within a couple of feet of it, and then I had to get up on a ladder and get it on my shoulder and pick it up and put it in the notch on the other side. But I got it done. But the tractor, I couldn't done it without that tractor. I never would have got that up.
It has been so handy. It's the best investment, that we've ever made, probably.
Yeah.
Although it did give Matt a fit this morning. It took way longer. It took longer to fool with the tractor than it did to actually plant the potatoes down at the big garden. Trying to change his, the attachments or whatever.
Yeah, trying to hook the tiller up to it. That is such an aggravating implement to hook up to me. The rest of them, it's not that bad because you can kind of grab them and scoot them and move them and square them up and get the holes lined up, but that tiller is just too heavy. And I just had a horrible time, and I do every time I use that thing. And they make I don't know what they call that thing, a quick hitch coupler maybe, that just hooks onto your 3-point hitch and just stays there. And then you can just back up under whatever implement you're going to pick up and just hook it and pick it up. and then you can put your pins in, I think, and all that. And I'm gonna have one of those before I ever hook that thing up again.
You're gonna have it directly.
If
right?
I ain't got one, I won't hook that tiller back up again.
Matt got upset, frustrated with it. I knew he was frustrated when I seen his glasses go through the garden. But
Yeah.
Paul come out to just see what we were doing, so he ended up helping Matt, and they finally got it attached. But yeah, I seen those glasses go flying. I was like, okay. It was his readers. It wasn't his expensive glasses, and even it didn't even hurt them. I went and picked them up and put them in my pocket, and then kind of forgot about them. And then we got back up here, and Matt said, well, I'm going to have to go get my glasses. They're in the garden. I was like, no, I've got them. I'm looking out for you. I seen you throw them.
Every time I bend over, they fall off and fall. And what makes me mad?
Well, you got one of those little things to put around them. You need to do that.
Yeah, and then every time you bend over,
It hits you in the face.
Well, everything you do, it collects dirt and dust and food.
Yeah.
And that, you know.
You need to go get contacts like I have, and then you don't have to worry about none of that.
Can you imagine how long I could deal with that?
Well, probably not very long.
Right. I get so much stuff in my eyes working that I just would never be able to. I mean, I've never tried it. You keep telling me I could probably do it, but I don't know.
It's so nice not to have glasses on your face. Now, everybody can't wear them if you need, like, bifocals, like mine are. One eye's one thing and one eye's the other. And that really bothers a lot of people. But from the instant I had mine put in a couple of years ago, I mean, in the office there, I was like, this is miraculous. I didn't know I was so old. I didn't know I looked so old. Oh, my goodness. And I think I'm going to go home and probably realize how dirty my house is.
Yeah.
Maybe it was nice not being able to see.
I wish now I hadn't got those progressives. I mean, they work good as long as you don't move your head. But then if you do, then you've got to articulate your head.
And to fix the
everywhere.
glasses, yeah.
And, you know, once again, some of the stuff that I've been doing, especially, you know, working on that shed and stuff, you can't, I'd have to go get a universal joint put in my neck to get to be able to where I could get to see. And that's just, it may work for some people, but.
Well, I remember when we talked about when Matt first got them, maybe in that video where we lost them and found them, and
Yeah.
Matt still got them and still wears them some, but not if he's doing stuff like that. But a lot of people said, you know, either themselves or somebody they knew just could never ever get used to them. Like it caused them to fall and things like that because of the progressiveness of them.
Well, that's not even what irritates me. I got used to that. It's such a tiny spot in the middle of the lens that works, and everywhere around it's a blur.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just sat and had your head straight ahead and you never moved, yeah, it'd be great. You know, but I just all the time doing something and turn your head and you're looking around the progression in that thing, and it's just like not having them on.
Matt's like a turkey. He's always doing and moving.
Yeah, and then people, all kinds of people, have told me this is what you need to do. You need to do this. You need to learn how to move your head, and I do get that, but it still ain't working.
The readers work better in a way. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm having to work and do anything up close,
Yeah.
they do work better. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I ought to get a different type of lens. I don't know. I just don't know.
About the time that mine had just started getting a little bit. Me and Matt both very blessed. Our eyes were not bad until we got older, so we never had to wear glasses as children or anything. Well, Matt did one time, but I don't really think he needed them, did you?
Apparently not.
Anyway, I remember when Daddy had his cataract surgery. Him and Granny's both had that, had their eyes fixed, and they both did very well. I know some people have trouble with it. But in those days, Daddy was still going to the VA at Otine, and I took him for both times to do both eyes, you know. So I got to not watch him do it or anything, but I got to see how he progressed, you know, and learn about the drops and all that kind of stuff. But by the time he had both of them done, and they both done very well, he was back at 20/20 vision. And I was like, I just told, of course I was kidding, but to one of the nurses, I was like, could you do that for me? Because I've always had this like really good eyesight. Now it's beginning just a little bit to go down, which I didn't even need glasses then. I just needed the readers every once in a while. But it was a miracle. I mean, for Daddy, it really was amazing. And I don't know if everybody's does like that. Granny already wore glasses. She's wore glasses as long as I can remember, my whole life. And then she did have cataract surgery, but she still wears glasses. Still wears her glasses. So
That's what they told me. I had cataract.
yeah, I remember had the beginning. So you have to undergo that someday, I guess.
Gosh. Yeah, I guess.
And I'll be putting the drops in your eyes.
Be leading me around, I reckon.
Yeah.
We just lead each other around.
That's what we'll do.
Yep, we'll just
Tie ourselves together.
just hook a rope to between ourselves, and we'll both just stumble all over the tater patch and
and hope for the
hope
best.
for the best.
Maybe Corey will find taters growing in her flower beds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do hope you get one of those things for your tractor. You meant to all the time, you just never have.
Every time we go over, I look at them and see them.
And just somehow...
The problem is every time we go over there, is we're over there to buy something that's quite expensive, and I don't want to add that to it.
I know, but you just need to get it.
But I would have certainly paid the cash
This
money
morning.
for it this morning.
Yeah, I think me and Paul would have too. We would have ponied up for it. Paul would have.
There just ain't no sense in nothing being that difficult.
Yeah.
You know.
But you finally figured it out and got it.
I did figure it out. I figured out that's the last time until I've got one of them things, or I'll run that big yellow tiller down there the next time before I hook that up ever again.
Well,
That is a exercise in frustration.
yeah.
And if you have a temperament like mine, it's
Then your glasses are going to go flying through the
Yeah.
through the garden.
yeah.
There's a wasper over there trying to build a nest. The bees love Matt.
Yeah.
He'll come over here to Matt and try to scrooch up to you. Scrooch up right on your head, and
Mine shim flat too.
now he went over there to try to start his. He's hunting for a nest place. Watch him. It's another thing about spring of the years. The bees all come back and come out from wherever they've been and start flying again, start chasing Matt again.
Yeah, they just hoard up outside the kitchen door and they just wait, I reckon. And if they see the door open,
Well,
they
first,
all get in formation.
if it's Matt, if it's us, they don't.
Yeah, they all just line up, and I don't know what they're doing. They just want to fly into me and hit me and fall out in the yard. I don't know what that's about, but that's what they do, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Right off the side of my head. I don't know what it is.
They do like you a lot. You're pretty sweet though, so I can see.
Maybe it's my strawberry chapstick. you
Maybe,
reckon?
yeah, maybe it's your strawberry chapstick. You're pretty sweet when you ain't throwing your glasses down the potato row.
You didn't have to tell that, you know.
Well, I think it gives insight into your personality.
My personality probably should be studied by somebody.
I used to tease Matt, or Matt did too, tease his daddy that he was like Yosemite Sam on the cartoons, but Matt's, he's at least Yosemite Sam's son.
Thanks.
You have I don't know what it's like to have a temper though. Everybody's made different, and I just don't have that. You do.
Well, I've just got it in my mind how things ought to work, and when something becomes that difficult, and I'm kind of handy,
You're
the
real
frustration
handy.
magnifies exponentially, and there just ain't a whole lot I can do about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you fly right off the handle, don't you?
Yeah. That was quite that's the irritatedest I've been in a while this morning. But not to worry, there'll probably be another one following it.
I will say, take up for you, you're not near as bad, your temper's not near as bad as it used to be.
Yeah, thank you, I guess.
You are very handy at everything. You just want stuff to work when it's supposed to work.
Yeah. And when it don't, I get hot.
Mm-hmm. You come by it honest, though.
Yeah. I can always have that to fall back on. It ain't my fault.
That's what Katie says. She says, it's not my fault. I'm my daddy's daughter. I say, yep, you are. You sure are. Talking about how the tractor has been so handy for everything. It's also been amazing to watch. Woodrow's still not big enough really to, I don't know, understand it. I'm sure he will. And he don't see it as much either, to be fair. But Ira has become enamored with Papa's tractor already.
Mm-hmm.
He can say tractor,
Mm-hmm.
and he just wants to go look at the tractor and touch it and get all giddy about it. So those are his favorite things, is the tractor and the box.
Yeah.
Those are the two things he wants to go see every 10 minutes at
Mm-hmm.
least, or he's not satisfied.
Tractor and the chickens.
The tractor and the chickens, yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah.
It's good for a boy.
Yeah. Our niece's little boy, he loves the tractor too. He's older than Ira. And when they were here at, I guess, Granny's birthday, he wanted to see Matt's tractor, and Matt had actually been doing something with it, and he left it parked down the road, and so he was looking out the window at it, and he wanted it to come back up here. You know, he wanted to go see it, or he wanted to go drive it, or he wanted it. So he was all about the tractor too. Little boys.
That's just natural, I guess.
Yeah.
I was kind of enamored with tractors and stuff like that when I was young.
Tractors and bulldozers and equipment and that kind of stuff.
I remember sitting on the side of the hill at home, and across the creek from us was a great big hayfield. There's an elementary school sitting there now, but back then it was just a big field, and when they cut hay, I would always run down to the creek and get up on the bank and watch the tractors cutting hay, and then especially when they come back and baled it. And back then it was all square baling. I don't even think you don't see hardly any of that now. But the funny thing, I can remember thinking I wanted to know how that square baler worked, because you know, one end, the loose hay, the road hay goes in it and it comes out of bale. And I didn't, you know, I've never seen anything like that, how it worked, but I wondered how that could possibly be, and I wanted to see the inside of that thing. So it was such a big field, they didn't get it all done. They left their tractors and their baler in the field, and I went down there after dark with a flashlight
And looked at it.
and got up under that thing, and of course you still can't really tell anything about the inside of it, but I got a little bit of a glimpse of some of the workings of it. And even being that little, how old I was, 6 or 8 or 10, 6 or 8 probably, I got just a little bit of the idea of how that thing worked. And so the next day they come back, and I run right back up there and sat on the side of the bank there and watched them again. And then I could kind of envision with what I saw the night before, all those moving pieces and those little fingers that's in there, how all that works. Still, to this day, don't know for sure, but I've got just a little more idea, and I was trying to envision how all that was. And that's kind of weird for somebody that age to be so caught up in something like that, but I was.
Yeah, well, Matt has real mechanical mind. I don't at all. I can't even understand. It's not just that I can't understand. I'm just not interested. That's just not where my abilities lie at all. But Matt's does, and you can figure out anything. So I'm sure at that age it was just already showing up, even though you were so young.
I know those things. I've heard people over the years after that talk about working on them, and old farmers and stuff, about how complex them things are inside, and that was just kind of intrigued me. I knew it had to be that way, but I always wondered, how in the world does that work? And I got a little bit of an idea, but still not all of it, and I'd still like to know now.
That was in the days when all the young boys would hire on to throw that hay up.
Yeah, when I got a little older, I did, and of course the tractor wasn't even on the field by then. It was just all the bales and the trucks we was throwing them on.
Living where we do now, which of course is where I grew up, but there's a huge cattle farm, and I can remember every year seeing them bale it in the square bales. Now they still bale it, but they do the big giant bales now, but
Big round bales.
big round bales. But them baling it like that, and then all the local boys would, especially one family of boys that was about our age, they would work and they would put up hay, or he would hire extra people to put up hay just for that. And way to make money for some people, I guess, youngsters.
If it was like out where I was, all the boys would, that was a good opportunity to them for make a little fishing money. To go buy worms or minnows or wax worms or whatever and go take fishing. Or fishing pole, fishing reel.
Yeah.
Them kind of days are gone.
Well, like you said, they don't do the square bales, and
No.
nobody can't pick up the round one.
No.
You have to.
Gotta have a
And
tractor.
I guess they're how do you say that?
Impervious.
Impervious to the weather, because they stay out a lot of times.
Yeah, they stay out. They've got them now where the machine wraps it in plastic as it bales it.
That's like
And
the
then-
white ones that look like
Right,
marshmallows.
and then
yeah.
you can leave them in the field. Because they take up so much room, you'd have to have a great big barn.
Yeah. It's another thing I hadn't thought about in years. Is back then you might hear every year, not every year, but you'd hear stories of somebody's barn catching on fire because of the hay getting so hot in there.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I guess you're about ready to go in and eat, ain't you?
Pretty close, yeah.
Ready to get out of the infernal wind.
We ain't exactly in the wind, but I can hear it and it still makes me mad.
Yeah.
I might have to throw my glasses.
I don't think it'll do you any good, but
No.
might just let out some steam.
Yeah.
Let off some steam. Well, we hope you enjoyed seeing us finally get our taters planted, and we always glad when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia, and we hope you'll just keep doing that until one day we're out there digging them, and even before that I hope I'm grabbing some out to cook for supper one night.